I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing.
That was conservative hero, men's rights religious expert Jordan Peterson getting absolutely owned by an unnamed atheist. I'm Mediaite founding editor Colby Hall, and I'm joined today by editor-in-chief Aidan McLaughlin. Aidan, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Colby?
I'm great, thanks. So that clip is from something called from Jubilee Media. It's kind of a cool idea. Isn't always executed wonderfully, but the idea is that you have a thought leader of some sort, not always conservative, sometimes progressive. They're surrounded by eager debaters who want to prove that thought leader is wrong. And in this episode, Jordan Peterson kind of got his ass handed to him by a room full of atheists. And no, 20 atheists versus one Jordan Peterson. That sounds like a little bit like, one gorilla versus 100 men internet meme. But loop me in on this. I pretend like I'm a 5-year-old. What is going on in this whole thing?
Yeah, so Jubilee Media does these videos that go absurdly viral. They really cracked the code on making a YouTube video work. And the gimmick is that you have one person defending an issue, and then you have 20 people around them, and they're usually quite young, sort of internet savvy debate bros, and they hop into a seat.
Smart.
They are pretty smart, and they're kind of like, it's like they were raised in a lab of like how to debate online. And so
the sophistry lab.
Yeah, this is a group of atheists. So if they were in any room that didn't have Jordan Peterson in it, they'd be the 20 most insufferable people there. But Jordan Peterson probably takes the prize there. That video we just watched, I mean, on the one hand, I kind of understand what you have to understand about this video, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, it went tremendously viral and a lot of people were baffled by what Jordan Peterson was doing here. He does have a sort of weirdly complex relationship with Christianity. He has said before that he is maybe a Christian, but he isn't particularly sure a couple of years ago. And so what happened there was there's this confusion between the debater that was talking to him, who was invited to come on Jubilee and debate a Christian. And so they were naturally asking Jordan Peterson if he was a Christian to sort of get to the root of whatever his questioning was. And Jordan Peterson basically said, I'm not a Christian, or I have never admitted that. And then it created this sort of bizarro semantic game where...
Well, let's watch the full clip. We showed a little bit of a tease. The full clip of the back and forth. Let's watch that now.
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
Somewhat.
Okay, you're
Their
familiar.
doctrines are very
How do they
deep.
regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well,
and I mean
either you're a
'cause I
Christian
won't
or you're
talk
not.
to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell you.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing. Right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
It's stunning to me in that like Jordan Peterson wasn't prepared to even allow the fact that he may be Christian, and the unnamed atheist sort of is gobsmacked by the fact, like, do you know what you signed up for? Like, the whole premise here is the thing that you're the Christian.
And Jubilee ended up changing the name of the video from one Christian versus 20 atheists to Jordan Peterson versus 20 atheists, because I'm sure Jordan Peterson got very angry and said, I've never, described myself as an atheist. Of course, Jordan Peterson in recent years has taken to wearing ties and suits very garishly emblazoned with Christian iconography. So you could be forgiven for assuming that the guy who wears a tie with Jesus on it is not a Christian. At the end of the day, this is something that Jordan Peterson has resorted to in recent years, which is when he gets caught in a debate where he finds himself slipping or potentially losing, he resorts to these sort of absurd semantic quibbles
I
or
didn't say
kind
that. I didn't
of
say that. That's not what I meant.
or or these odd ominous rhetorical flourishes, like saying that if you believe something you have to die for it, which is what he said in this other clip, which we're going to show now, when he got asked if he believes in Christianity, and it led to this sort of devolution of the debate.
So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean
How
when
is
you
that
say
circular?
you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if
What's
you
a belief?
believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it. That's what I mean by that. It isn't something that you say. It isn't something that's associated with logical consistency. It's not declarative. It's not propositional. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's the presupposition of your attention and your action. And you're either fragmented, in which case you worship multiple gods, or there's some unity at the bottom of it that makes you an unstoppable force.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Not really, no.
Okay. So then,
How would you define belief? Something you say?
Can I explain? Like, I could believe it is the case that this pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your
Don't
life?
be so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life?
Obviously, it is not going to be a productive debate if you are quibbling over the word belief and what it means to believe. And, Colby, this reminds me of a debate that Jordan Peterson had a couple years ago with Richard Dawkins, who is arguably the most famous atheist out there.
Well, how many dragons have you overcome in your life?
I'm not interested in dragons. I'm interested in reality.
Okay, so I read a book a while back that described the biological reality of the dragon. Say, well, there's no such thing as a dragon. It's like, okay, is there such a thing as a predator?
Of course.
Well, that's a meta category. What's the category of predator? Bear, eagle, if you're a primate. Fire? Is fire a predator?
No.
Well, it's complicated because a fire kills you. So is there a worse predator than serpentine, flying, fire-breathing reptile? Is that not the imagistic equivalent of predator? So in what way, if predator is real, in what way isn't dragon real?
I don't know why you say dragon. I mean, we have lions, we have tigers, we have saber-tooth.
Right, but why not abstract?
So a dragon is a pictorial representation of the abstracted concept of a predator.
Yes.
As you say, we already have the term predator, and so it might be useful in art, in narrative, but when you say the biology of a dragon, you must understand how that can be misleading.
I don't think the category of dragon is any less valid than the category of lion.
Any less biological?
Well, it depends on your level of analysis.
You would say that lions are an instantiation of this bracket term of predator.
I would also say...
Would you therefore say that a lion is an instantiation of the bracket term of dragon?
Yes.
Richard Dawkins was trying to have a substantive argument about belief, and Jordan Peterson went on this wild tangent where he basically insisted that dragons are real and that they are as real as any other predator. And I felt bad for Richard Dawkins because he just sat there kind of baffled that he was in this debate with someone who is, I think it's worth laying out for our audience that Jordan Peterson is not a quack on the internet. He may seem like that now. He is enormously influential. He has 8.7 million subscribers on YouTube.
So he's
Yeah.
an interesting guy because he was sort of early on, men's rights maybe. And he was kind of like almost a progenitor of the Tucker Carlson form. Like he sort of was early on in a sort of like an illogically or intellectually pure way, opposed to sort of the degradation of like social mores and kind of blasting over-reliance on identity politics. He was kind of ahead of the game. Yep. But I also know that he's a dude who seems to curry controversy. And, you can't really debate this sort of thing because it really kind of comes down to faith, The other thing is it was clear to me that Jordan Peterson wasn't very comfortable having a dialogue with people that didn't already sort of fully believe, not his fans, right?
Right.
And so I give him credit for getting out of his own bubble, but it also showed that he wasn't really prepared, or he's gotten a little soft or atrophied from being in his own bubble, because he was not prepared to be able to handle that. And I wonder if this influence you're talking about, which I think is notable, may abate a little bit given this sort of fluff.
Yeah. Oh, I certainly think, that's one of the problems with our balkanized media climate today, is that with platforms that are algorithm based, it is very easy to fall to audience capture, where you can surround yourself very easily. And someone like Jordan Peterson, who had enormous success a few years ago, as you note, by pushing back against feminism, about the excesses of political correctness, and actually was quite well regarded at the time, and built this massive audience. His self-help book, 12 Rules for Life, has sold more than 10 million copies. Wow. And I do think, when you talk to people that were previously fans of Jordan Peterson, and I know some people that were, they say that there has been a devolution in his intellect or his stature. I'm not going to speculate as to why that is. We do know that he was addicted to benzos, disappeared for a year, was treated
Who among us?
He was treated for it in a Russian hospital because his daughter didn't trust Western science. When he went on he was on an all red meat diet for a while.
Again, who among us?
Who among us? Yeah. So I do think when I talk to people that I know who are very smart, who will offer sort of a faint defense of him, they'll say that he previously wasn't this off the reservation. Now, I'm not going to speculate as to what happened there, but I do think that it is an enormously potent force in today's media climate to succumb to audience capture, where you can surround yourself by a very large audience that no matter what you say will tell you that you're right. And that can lead to some extremely concerning paths that a lot of major media folks have taken. And if you do venture outside the bubble, as Jordan Peterson did here, that bubble can get pierced. And I do think that that's what we're seeing here. And I do think that will be a problem for his audience going forward. I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say, okay, maybe when he tells me that dragons are real out of some sort of like bizarro Jungian analysis that he's going through, maybe he's not all there.
Well, I mean, I think that it's one of these things where like he seems like he's not quite like academic, but he sort of presents academic. So he's not like, I mean, he presents intellectual, and a lot of what he says is sort of intellectual, but ultimately, he's positing his opinion. I think why he resonated is that there was a big reaction. I know for a fact there's a lot of, there was a real trend in independent schools in New York City who a lot of boys were sort of radicalized by an over sort of indoctrination of what we now call DEI, but like diversity. And, I think everyone can say diversity and inclusion, all these things are great things. But if you're constantly feeling like you are sort of being blamed for something that you didn't benefit from or you didn't have any part in, guys like Jordan Peterson really resonate with you. And that's, I think, partly where he came to fame. But I also feel that his value prop, it has a small shelf life, right? And, it's almost like now that Trump is in the White House and he got elected and there's a sort of, the pendulum has swung the other way in terms of woke politics, he's less, an outlier. And it also coincides with the fact that he's not quite as sharp or tight as he was for whatever reason. I think it could just be he sold 10 million books and he just got used to being interviewed by people that are like-minded. Maybe there's something else, who knows? But the look on his face is almost like throughout these interviews is like, wait, I got to speak to my manager, my agent. Like, this is not what I agreed to. Like, this is
like, what did you think debating Christianity with a group of 20-something atheists would be like? They're going to ask you whether you're a Christian, and they're going to try and probe into your beliefs.
Right.
I mean, And I think one of the things that happened over the years, I do think that there was, I was reading a brilliant review of his last book about God. Actually, it's called "We Who Wrestle with God," and the Times of London, which is a conservative newspaper in London, did a review of it. And it was written by someone who has previously praised Jordan Peterson, and I think is ideologically aligned with the stuff that you spelled out, his response to the excesses of liberalism and, this trend over the last decade that basically told young men that they were responsible for, all these great sins. But the review starts, "The last time I reviewed a book by Jordan Peterson, a cleverly edited excerpt of my negative opinion, I described the book as bonkers, appeared on the cover paperback edition, giving readers the misleading impression that I had endorsed it. So this time I shall have to be clear. The new book is unreadable, repetitive, rambling, hectoring, and mad. We Who Wrestle with God repels the reader's attention at the level of the page, the paragraph, and the sentence, sometimes even at the level of the word." And so I do think, credit to Jordan Peterson for amassing this massive audience. I know that he makes millions of dollars a year through his books, through the YouTube channel, through his association with the Daily Wire, and I'm sure through his talks. But it says something that a lot of people that would previously be ideologically aligned with him find his work now basically the rantings of a madman.
Yeah, and I want to tie something else together here. Like, I think that's very astute. I think when you debate religion, it's an archaic idea. Like, religion, organized religion for younger generations is dated. And look at any data. Churches are closing. Churches are being sold and made into condos. And, I think that's a natural progression perhaps. But what we've lost from that is a sense of community, meaning that is to say, families, old school families, and people would go to a church on Sundays, and that's where they would commune, right? They would congregate. And I think that going away that vacuum has been filled with ideological like minds, like the group of atheists or the boys at private schools who, see, gender is purely binary and there's no debate other than that. And it makes Jordan Peterson a hero because he has created a community. And so what's interesting about this clip is that you have fighting communities that aren't really based in faith. They're just based in, sort of balkanized media consumption, because people need to feel like they're part of a larger group that, I don't know, like they're not getting from the traditional outlets. And so I think that's also an interesting take on this sort of Jordan Peterson spreading the gospel to a bunch of atheists and kind of getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully he goes back. I'd like to see him take a round two there and maybe let us know whether he's Christian or not. Anyway.
So it's good stuff. Viewers, please click like and subscribe button for more videos like this. Aidan, this has been a delightful. I'm glad to know that you don't believe in God. I'm still undecided. So
I refuse to say, like Jordan Peterson, I have not revealed whether I am a Christian or not, though I do occasionally attend Catholic church. And it is very personal, and I will not be getting into it here. But thank you, Colby.
That's the right answer. But I will say that a lot of people call you the Jordan Peterson of Mediaite, and now we know why.
I'm hanging up now.